A little colder up in Prescott today, or?
It's a little chilly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm here with Tim Brown, someone I've had the pleasure of being in business with for, is it 4 years now? 3 years?
Yeah. Going on 4 years.
Going on 4 years. All right.
Yeah.
Time goes by too fast, and so I have to try and remember.
Yeah.
But Tim is one of our partners up in my Prescott office, and dude, how do we meet in the first place? Were we connected by someone, or?
It's a funny story. I was when I first got licensed, I was at KW. So I was a returning agent, but I think at the time, the way we got connected was the team leader in Prescott.
Oh, yeah.
Reached out.
Yes, it was. Okay. Awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, Tim's become one of my closest friends and peers and leaders in our company, and so I'm excited to have you on the show, man. I guess let's just start at the beginning. I mean, take me back before real estate. What were you up to?
I mean, 18 years old. I was, fresh out of high school, and I grew up in Glendale here, Arizona native.
Okay.
Didn't really have any skills. Kind of grew up in a rough neighborhood. Really, all I knew how to do was hustle.
Okay. I can see that in you.
So construction was like it for me. I started doing construction, and then that was right around the time that, only a couple years right before the market crashed.
Okay. You did that right at 18? Mm-hmm. Or okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you graduated high school and went right into just a
Actually,
full-time
it was before
job?
that.
Oh, wow.
16 years old, I was getting into a lot of trouble in high school, constantly getting into trouble. Just school was not a good fit for me, so I dropped out of school at 16 years old, got my GED, and just started working.
Wow.
Full time at 16. And then 18 years old, moved to Vegas for a short period. I have a little family out there. My cousin got me a job doing construction. It was like guaranteed $25 an hour. Which,
it was
early 2000s. You're thinking like, oh my God, that's $1 million.
Yeah,
right?
at 18 years old. I mean, that's a good gig.
Yeah, I'm like sold. So I went there.
And in Vegas.
Yeah. What could be better, right? To an 18-year-old kid. So went there, did that, loved it. Then the market crash happened. So then I kind of had to pivot, and luckily I had been stacking up money for a while, right? So coincidentally, that was right around the time that my oldest daughter was born. And I had been working so much that, I just took a little time off and spent some time with my daughter, and really spent some time thinking about what I wanted to do next. And one thing was for sure, I was like, I don't really want to travel to work anymore. I want to stay home. I want to be able to, go punch a time clock, come home every day, be able to be with my family. And so I got into manufacturing in Prescott Valley.
Can I ask a question before we go into the manufacturing? I'm curious because if you're 20 years old, the market crashes and you're at the front lines, you're working for builders in construction. What was it like to experience the crash, especially in a major market like Vegas? Did you know what was going on around you? I'm just curious, to get in the mind of someone on a construction site, young construction, while the collapse in the market's happening. Did you guys see it? I mean, you're on the front lines, so I'm just curious. It's kind of a random question.
Everybody knew it was coming. And you could slowly see it because every job, the money's allocated per job, right? So as jobs finished, there's no more jobs lined up after that. So, they've got 20, 30 guys allocated per job or whatever, or however many people per job. So once this job is complete, they didn't have another job lined up for these guys. So it's like this whole crew, once that job is done, they're laid off. And then this job, once that crew's done, they're laid off. And it's just a domino effect of job after job.
Interesting.
So, you knew once the job you were on was complete, that was going to be it.
So you take a beat and you decide you will want to make sure that your family's a focus, and you go into manufacturing. Tell me a little bit about what that was like and what you learned in manufacturing.
Yes. So I looked at, because Prescott has a few different, large companies there that have manufacturing facilities. So I took a look at a few of them, just, reputation-wise, things like that. And I landed on a window manufacturing company. Yeah. And I felt it was perfect. It was like a 4-minute drive from my house, right?
Yeah, that's pretty legit.
So I landed there. I heard good things, good pay, good benefits, close to home. I could go home every day, be with my family. And not knowing that this company would kind of shape my life and kind of build out who I am now. I moved up pretty quickly in the company. I mean, inside of a year, I went from being just, stone cold laborer who walked in the door to being management within 12 months. And then stayed there for a little more than a decade.
Wow.
And, throughout that experience there, they gave me just so much knowledge and skills as far as, manufacturing, it's very go business. You're building one part after another all day long. It's very repetitive. So one of the skills that you're teaching and learning is how do we trim the fat, right? That's a term we use every day in most businesses, right? Most entrepreneurs use that term. But how do we trim the fat? How do we cut the waste? Whatever the case. So, down to if I can save this guy 5 seconds per part, that's quite a substantial savings, through the course of a 12-month period.
Yeah, because you're totally judged on the output and the volume of the widgets that you're creating, in this case, windows. And so efficiency becomes it is the pinnacle.
Exactly.
How do we, and when you're talking about a high volume business like that, it's just even 5 seconds over the course of a year or 5 years makes a humongous difference.
It's measurable
success. It's measurable.
Yeah.
And I think we forget about that in real estate, because we are a low volume for the most real estate agents are low unit agents and businesses. And so I think one of our downfalls is often that we're just not as efficient, and we don't think about efficiency.
Right.
You look at the average agent's schedule, a calendar, and you and I can tell pretty quickly if someone comes to us and says hey, I'm not as successful as I want to be. Most of it's driven by the efficiency or lack thereof in their calendar, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's something that you actually learned in the manufacturing days. You also started managing, and you manage a group of employees, and I'm curious, what did you learn about management during that period of time that has made you a better leader today? Because now you run a real estate team, and we'll get into that. But I'm just curious, what you learned. It sounds like that was the first kind of experience you had with management and leadership.
I'd say the biggest thing is you can't force anybody to do anything they don't want to do. Right?
Yeah.
And I think we know that all too well in the real estate world. If somebody wants to perform, they're going to perform. If they don't, they don't. So, when you're trying to recruit, that's not something you're going to be able to judge or look for. People surprise you.
Kristen says all the time that, and Kristen, for those of you who don't know in the audience, is my business partner. And she likes to tell me all the time, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you. I'm someone who, like, I have to find the, like, silver lining in everyone. I'm a hopeless optimist. Like, everyone can be a millionaire. Everyone can get what they want. Everyone, like, and so sometimes I will look at someone, and even though they've shown me by their actions who they are and what they want, to your point, like, I try and pull them up, and you can't do that. It's like, people surprise you, yes. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times our rookie of the year has been the person that I thought wasn't going to do it. But on the flip side, they also show you pretty quickly, like, who they are by the way they show up. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're absolutely correct, and I've seen that a lot, and it's funny, it's just weird the way it works out.
Yeah.
Because I think we see it a lot in our business, where you do see people come in the door and they're very gung-ho, like, day 1, day 2, but then it's like day 378 and you haven't seen them for 2 months.
Yep.
But then on the flip side, you've got these other people who are like come in the door and they're very introverted at first, but then they come out of their shell later and they turn into like these crazy producers, down the road. It's just...
Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm a little of both. I can wear both sides of the hat, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
We've gotten to know each other for over the last few years, but you're a little harder to pin down. I think sometimes people, when you don't come into a room gregariously, and I think that this is just my read on the situation. You're not the type of personality that you're going to walk in and be like, boom, that's the top salesperson. But you've always been successful very quickly, whether it's manufacturing, going right into management and running your manufacturing plant, or getting into business with us. It's like, you just, like, what I love about you is you let your actions like speak for themselves, and you quickly just ascend into like leadership. And I just appreciate a person and a personality like that, because I think it shows other agents that you don't have to be a certain way. Right. You don't have to be the person that is the most gregarious or the loudest. You don't have to be the person who is constantly just speaking and making their presence known. Like, you can come in and like be like Tim Brown and crush it out of the park. And that's just, I don't know, that's something I just want to praise you for and compliment you for, because you're always someone to be admired, and you're super skilled, and you do it in a way that's like not pretentious at all, which is rare in our industry. So tell me about a decade in the window business. Is it straight from that into real estate then? And why, after a decade, did you choose to make that shift? Because I've got to imagine one of the things that sets in after a decade is you're pretty comfortable. So what was the tipping point, and why did you get into this business where it's completely different, and you've made a name and a position for yourself inside your home city? Like, what did that look like? Yeah.
So, great question. So yeah, after a decade, I'm pretty callous, at this point. And in this, window manufacturing plant, there's probably a dozen or so production lines of different products and different, windows and doors that they manufacture. And some are at a high level where, we're talking like 800 to 1,000 windows produced a day on one production line, and some as small as 8 to 10 windows a day when you're doing like crazy things like shapes, window shapes and stuff. And within that time frame, I supervised and managed over the course of a decade every single window production line within the plant over the course of the decade. And at the very end of my career, I was running the luxury window line, which was their Energy Core line. Very high-end product. We're talking, like triple pane windows, foam insulated.
Yep.
Very, high-end stuff. And I kind of felt like I had hit a ceiling in my career, you know, because the next step up for me was like plant manager. And the only way I saw, you know, that position's currently like filled, right? And the only way I saw that position opening up was like the current person retiring, which I didn't see happening for like another 30 years, right? Which you never know what's going to happen in the future. But at the time, that's where my thought was.
And it seems like a logical like conclusion.
Yeah.
My best friend's in manufacturing in Colorado, and he actually just transitioned out. Same exact thing. It was basically like, you can move to our other plant in New York and take the next, or you got to wait till this guy dies or retires.
Yeah, exactly. And I also felt like I had hit a ceiling, not really a ceiling, but like I wanted to make more money. I wanted to do more, you know. I kind of felt like I had a lot left in my gas tank talent-wise that was being underutilized. The most I could really do with myself was we used to have these things called A3s. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but a lot of the
A3s?
A3s.
Okay.
So standard printing paper, you know, you have your legal paper, right?
Oh yeah, like A4, whatever. Okay.
But A3 is a little larger, right?
Okay.
Your bigger pieces.
You know what's funny is I almost said the only thing I know about this is paper, and
Exactly.
I didn't think that was.
So A3 is a little larger than your standard printing paper, and it's widely used in the military.
Okay.
And most of manufacturing principles are designed around the military standard operating procedures. So when they solve problems in the military, it's a similar principle to what they use in manufacturing. And most manufacturing principles are designed around what's called the Toyota way.
Okay.
Toyota, for most people that don't know, are like the leanest manufacturers on the planet. They run at like a 98% loss, or I'm sorry, less than 2% loss of scrap products, which is insane.
Yeah.
Versus any other manufacturing company on the planet, which is the highest in the world. So that was like their target goal at this window manufacturing company, is to aspire to be as close to that as possible.
And it's called A3?
A3.
Okay.
So anytime you're solving a problem, you know, you had this A3 piece of paper. And it's basically who, what, where, when, why. You know, you've got this issue, you write the issue down, and then you go through the steps of solving why is the issue happening, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And it basically takes you to the root cause of a problem. What can you do to fix it? And instead of like, you know, saying, hey, it's dark in here. Oh, it's dark in here because the light is off. Why is the light off? You don't know why the light is off. It's never operating on an assumption, right? Like the light switch is off. It could be because someone didn't pay the electricity bill. It's investigating instead of assuming.
Yeah.
So basically running through, finding the root cause of a problem and fixing the problem instead of just Band-Aids.
Okay.
So that was the most I could ever do with my day, was solve problems by A3s, and I just had grown bored with that.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
So what, did you like A3 out your problem and said I'm hitting a ceiling, like, and work it backwards, and then it just landed on real estate, or what?
Sort of.
Okay.
I had just fallen in love almost with like watching, you know, HGTV and DIY channel, right? Like all those flipping shows and stuff like that.
Like what year was this?
This was like 2011 up to 16. I was just
Okay.
I was always watching those flipping shows.
So height of those flipping shows.
Yeah,
And,
you know. Just been really, really into that.
Yeah.
And was like, man, I would just like, that was my dream. It was like, one day I would just love to, you know, be able to flip houses like that. That was so cool. I wish I could do that. So then my mind like starts turning one day and it's like, I don't know if I want to do this forever, like be in this plant here forever. Like, and I'm like starting to have issues, you know, talking like I'm doing like 25,000 steps a day on a concrete floor in steel-toed boots. You know, it takes a toll on your body, right?
Yeah.
All hiking aside, like, you know, it starts to take a toll on you.
Yeah.
And it's 12 hours a day, most weeks, 6 days a week. So it's pretty labor.
It's taxing.
Yeah. So then I started thinking like, well, I started doing this because I wanted to be able to go home every day and spend more time with my family, but I feel like I'm always here, you know, and I'm not really getting that family time, and I really want more freedom, which is the number one reason I think people say they get into real estate, right?
I think so.
They want more freedom. And I feel like I've always been able to manage myself really well. And I think that's why real estate's such a good fit for me now. But at the time, I just started Googling, like, you know, what's a good job, like where you have good freedom, you know, that you can make good money and, you know, all these other things, right? And like real estate was like the one thing that come up. But the rough thing about Google is it's like, oh yeah, the national average is like $40,000 a year. And I'm like,
good money and $40,000 a year is not computing.
I'm like, well, 40,000 a year is not going to cut it for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I make more than that now. I can't. That's a huge pay cut.
Yeah.
Right.
But plus, again, back to comfort. Like 10 years of like consistent paycheck every 2 weeks, benefits, all this stuff. Like you have a family. How many kids do you have at this point?
Yeah. So right now, I just this is kid number 3 for me.
Yeah.
Our third son, we just welcomed October 28th.
It's awesome.
Yes.
And when you were making this leap, did you have 2 at that time?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So you had 2 kids,
yes,
stable income, benefits, all this stuff. And you Google 40,000 a year and real estate. So what gives you the courage to actually jump in? And was it a conversation with someone? What did your entry into real estate look like?
I had to find someone who was actually in real estate because nobody could give me a straight answer. Like, my question was, can you make more than $40,000 a year in real estate? Like, I was like, I understand 40,000 is the national average, but I was like, if I work harder, can I make more than that? You know, and that was my question, the big question, and the big thing that I needed answered. So yeah, I had to sit down with someone and just ask those questions. You know, all of the questions that I needed answered. And once I got all the answers that I was looking for, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull the trigger on this. I started like researching, you know, the real estate schools and looking into, you know, how soon could I get into real estate school? You know, what were the costs associated? I had money saved up, you know, so I was like, I can bankroll myself for, you know, it was like 6 months. I was like, I'm giving myself 6 months at this, and that includes, you know, it was like 1 week. I went through, or not 1 week, I'm sorry, 3 weeks that I went through the real estate schooling.
Yeah.
So
you burnt the boats, and like you just like
Yeah.
6 months, I'm going all in, and
Yeah.
all right.
I was like, I need to make this work.
Now, did you remind me? Did you start on a team or did you start individual?
I started solo.
Okay. All right. So you started solo.
Mm-hmm.
You've also been on a team,
Mm-hmm.
a pretty successful team, and then, you know, when you and I got into a relationship, you basically went back solo, running your own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and you've now grown into running your own successul team in the
Mm-hmm.
Prescott area. So my question for you is, you know, you've seen the inside and the outside of all of those different things, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whatever. What is it that actually sets apart a successful agent from one that doesn't succeed in this business?
Showing up and doing the work.
And what does that work look like?
Well, I think going back to what we said earlier, trimming the fat and being, efficient with your time. Most people, I don't know, a new agent will spend 4 hours making open house flyers because they think they need to be perfect, and they don't. Honestly,
Yeah.
A typical day for me is I will work probably no more than 4 hours on a normal day. And that's a normal day for me. It didn't start that way, but it's because I've been able to, optimize my day and go through what's a necessity and what's not.
What is a necessity that you feel most agents just either won't admit or they just turn a blind eye to? Like what are the necessities?
Prospecting, 100%. Prospecting is the number one thing. If you take everything else off your schedule, prospect. That's the number one thing.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, and I laughed, and I probably shouldn't have laughed when you said, like, an average agent will spend 4 hours like doing the open house fly. But like we get, and all of us have our own version of that, I think, because I don't care if you're doing 10 deals or 100 deals or 1,000 deals, right? Like, I'm inefficient in my calendar in areas. There's places I need to trim the fat, and I have my own version of that 4 hours on an open house flyer, doing something that doesn't actually move the needle. And I think part of what I think agents need to just face and admit is that there is something in your schedule that does not serve your end means. And you can either admit that, or you can just keep doing the same thing. And you actually used a phrase a few minutes ago that I don't want to like gloss over. You said, I've always been pretty good at managing myself. And put another way, here at our company, we call that just self-mastery. And like, self-mastery involves becoming a better version of yourself in your calendar, in your efficiency. And if we would commit, like, as professionals, to just leveling up in our self-mastery, whatever that needs to be for someone listening to this, like, you will get closer to your goals. So what else do you think keeps top agents, or what makes, I guess the question was, what makes an agent successful or not? And you said focus. Well, how did you put it? I completely forgot.
Showing up and doing
the work. And you said prospecting is doing the work. Is there anything else that makes a successful agent?
Well, not having that ego.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So most of the top agents that I know, especially here at KW, like, we just had this massive training here today, right? You know, the room was filled with top agents learning from another top agent. right? It's not egocentric where, you know, we all walk out and we're like, we don't need to learn from this guy. You know, it's like we're all in there eager to learn and pick up nuggets from each other, you know? So showing up eager to learn, you know, and not assuming that you know everything, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's, like I said, alluded to earlier, that's one of your strengths, I feel like. I mean, and I love that about our company and our agents is like so many of you guys have a reason to have a chip on your shoulder because you're so successful, but you choose not to. And you choose to give back and you choose to share and come from a place of abundance. And one of my mentors once, Tim, said, ego stands for edging God out. And whether you believe in God or not, it's like that ego is like kind of holding something at bay, going like, I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't need to learn. I don't need, you know, anyone else. I can be successful on my own. And I think what sets the top people apart truly is, no, like I come to this with a learning-based mentality. And if you don't, you're not going to fit. Not in our company, at least. You might fit in some others. And it is what it is. But like, you're not going to fit in our company. Because at the end of the day, it's like, check your ego at the door. Check your resume at the door. You drive your success, and we can't be successful on our own. Yeah. So, what do you when you think about team building? You know, I think one of the things that I've seen in your development and in your business's growth over the last few years is that it seems like other agents are attracted to you. And I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem like the agents, like some teams recruit by like just pounding phones and trying to like convince people to come into their orbit. To me, I feel like you take a different approach. People are attracted to you. Like, would you say that? And like people just like they gravitate towards you and they want to be in business with you. How do you create a culture like that? How do you create a team environment like that people just want to be a part of it?
I see it kind of. I don't mean to get like spiritual, but I believe in the universe, right? Like, that old saying, you know, like the right people come into your world when they're meant to, you know. Being in manufacturing, I probably hired, you know, close to 3,000 people over the course of that decade. You know, I mean, we had high turnover all the time because, you know, it was long hours and very labor intensive work. But so I've done a lot of hiring. And so I don't want to say I'm like a pretty good judge of character, but I can usually read people pretty well. So I'm not just looking for numbers and bodies to fill positions. You know, I tend to look a lot deeper and look for the right people. And when the first time I joined a team, you know, and they gave me the disc assessment, I was like super impressed by that. You know, I thought that was so awesome that they gave me that, and that was part of my interview. So looking at, you know, our newest agent, Tracy, you know, when she came to me and said she wanted to join the team, I said no a couple of times. Like,
interesting.
And like, she pushed and she was persistent. But it was that persistence and that hunger, you know, she was showing me that she was hungry and she was wanting something. Yeah. And through the business that she's done this year, you know, she set a goal this year and she hit the goal.
Yeah.
You know, it just goes to show that, like, you know, she said she was willing to do the work and then she did it. You know?
Yeah.
So the right people come to you at the right time. I feel like.
I appreciate that, and I think it takes a leader with a temperament who can see the best in people, but also sets proper expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've said, you're gonna have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can share with you my knowledge and insights, but at the end of the day, you're gonna still have to do this.
Yeah.
And you bring up one agent in particular, and I'll tell you, like, just from reading reports, I can tell you when she joined your team, mm-hmm. right? Because there was a complete 180 in what I saw from that individual. And the reason I bring that up is because, especially since after the pandemic, we have all lied to ourselves so much about environment, mm-hmm. and I can work from home. I don't need to be around other people. Like, environment doesn't matter. I can be productive. And for every one person that can, mm-hmm. there's 100 that can't. Mm-hmm. And I bring that up because I believe environment matters. Like, who you're around, dude. I used to run. I don't run anymore. Mm-hmm. I'll do one race a year. But I tell you what, in my training, I am never as fast as when I'm in the actual race. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just a really simple concept. Like, we go faster, we go harder, we go stronger when we're around the other people that are pushing us. Talent pushes talent. And I guess just one of the things that I guess one of the reasons I'm sharing that is because, like, when it comes to your goals in 2026, who are you around that's pushing you? Mm-hmm. Who are you around that's going to say, yeah, you have this in you, and you're the one that's going to have to pull it out of you?
Yeah,
I can't do it for you. Mm-hmm. And you've been a great example of doing that for people around you. Mm-hmm. So Tim, you're one of the top teams in the top Keller Williams brokerage in this part of the country. One of the top brokerages in the state. What's next for Prescott Lux Realty Group? Where do you see both you and your team going in the years ahead? You didn't know I was going to ask you this.
No.
Put you on the spot.
That's a tough question to answer, because I feel, I say that I don't want to get comfortable, but at the same time, like, I do want to get comfortable, but I guess the real thing is I just don't want to get complacent.
What's the difference to you?
I don't want to be one of those agents who's just like sitting on the couch and waiting for the phone to ring. But at the same time, I don't feel like I need to grow to be, one of these mega teams that's doing, $500 million a year.
Do you think there's a difference between, I think the word growth is more nuanced than sometimes what we make it in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's easy to say growth mm-hmm. in any small business mm-hmm. and immediately define that as volume, units, GCI.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing you say, and I could be wrong, so correct me or reflect back, is you want to grow, be growth minded, evidenced by the fact that you sit in a training, like you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. But you're not necessarily defining the success of your team or yourself by this measure of production itself. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think there's something very wise about that. That a lot of agents miss because they are out to prove something, mm-hmm. prove someone wrong, prove that they're more than, which is fine. I'm not here to question someone on their, on their why. Mm-hmm. But how can you so comfortably, sit here and just be okay? I just feel like Tim is someone that's at peace. How's that possible?
It's how many agents do you know that are just comfortable where they're at, you know? I feel like when I talk to agents, they're all trying to be like the top dog. They all want to be the number one agent wherever they're at, yep. Right? Like that's everybody's number one goal. They want to be the number one agent, you know? And it's like, it's cool, but what do you get when you're there? Other than the bragging rights that you're the number one agent, right? But I guess nobody sees everything else that goes on behind the scenes, yep. To being the number one agent, right? To be the number one agent, you've got like a massive team behind that you have to manage, you know, and all the stress and the headaches that come with that. A lot of systems that have to be put in place, you know. It's a lot to manage. And you talk to any number one agent out there and they will tell you there's a lot of work that has to be done to implement and get to that spot. It's not just something that you can pick up and make it happen tomorrow, you know.
So how do you then define success?
To me, I look at the bottom line, looking at the P&L, right? When I look at my P&L, to me, and I see what the profit is, it's funny because the profit on my P&L is comparable to what some of these huge teams, you know, that are doing hundreds of transactions are profiting. You know, what people don't see is like they're spending these exorbitant amounts, right, on marketing, leads, all these different things, and people don't see what the output is on that.
Yeah,
you know, and the input or what's coming in is a lot of that's going back out.
When I talk to you, Tim, like I sense someone who's very aligned with what he actually values. And dude, that is something that I wish every agent could access. Like that part of themselves that's really in touch with what he or she wants, and then to run a business that's aligned with that. Because yeah, we get super infatuated with the top line in this business. So infatuated that we forget the bottom line. And I've said it since I got into this business myself that, dude, I see more happy individual agents with a highly paid administrative assistant than I do rainmakers.
Yeah.
And it's not to say like don't go build something massive. Yeah. Because there's those people that have done that too and done it successfully. But I want to challenge. Like I feel like part of my role, you know, as your business partner and all of our agents' business partner is to just challenge. Like why do you want that? Like what is it that you actually get at the end of the day? Why do it that way versus this way? And just to like challenge, because I think that's part of just growth and development and self-mastery is knowing why you're going after something. When I talk to you and when I listen to you, and I've always felt this way, it's like, it goes back to even why you went into the window industry way back when you had one child. It was, you knew, like, I value family, and this is what that value of family looks like. I'm going to take a job that's 4 minutes away. Okay, this is no longer serving me after a decade. And so I find real estate, and this is how I make real estate work for me. And it's like this concept of not letting the tail wag the dog. Tim Brown is the dog wagging the tail. And real estate gives you access to live in alignment with your values. Yeah. Like, do you feel that? Yeah, that's what I see in you.
And not listening to the probably the most important thing, not listening to what anybody else says or thinks. None of the naysayers out there, you know, of the world, so to speak. Because I got to tell you, when I started telling people, like, I'm taking real estate classes. I'm getting my real estate license. I'm going into real estate full time. I didn't have not one person tell me that they thought I could do it or I was going to make it.
Wow.
Like, I had like
zero
support system. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Everybody was like,
thanks a lot, Mom.
Yeah. Everybody was like, oh my God, it's so saturated. Competition, especially in Prescott, is so fierce, right? Like, it's so cutthroat. That was the feedback that I got about the Prescott market. And then I quickly realized when I got into the market and started like opening my eyes that I was like, well, maybe it's not, you know? I mean, by design, on the outside looking in, people see like, yeah, there's almost 3,000 licensed agents in the Prescott area, but that's all people see. If they don't know anything about real estate, they see that and they're like, oh my God, that's a scary number. I got to compete against 3,000 people. But really, is there really 3,000 performing agents in the Prescott area?
No, not at all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
That's the point. So when I got in and I started figuring out who's really out there and who's really performing, right? And then, you know, that's who I started looking at and started watching and you know, kind of that old acronym, the ROAD acronym, rip off and duplicate.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Try not to reinvent the wheel.
Yep.
You know, it's just what's working and what's not.
Well, and that goes back to the idea and the theme of environment.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that unless you're around other people that you actually can rip off and duplicate.
Exactly.
And it's just like, the thing I think is like, you know, the thing I want listeners of this episode to really take away is rip off and duplicate the person who actually is living the life that you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, we just listened to someone who closed 240 deals. He also said, and I think, and he's right, he's not wrong. He said, I work no less than 80 hours a week. Mm-hmm. That's fine if that's in alignment with what you actually want.
Yeah.
But don't lie to yourself and think that you're going to get that approaching it differently.
Yeah.
Know why you're in this business, know what it's going to take to get that, and then rip off and duplicate the people who are actually running businesses like that. And that's what I love about our company. Dude, I appreciate your friendship. Mm-hmm. I appreciate your business partnership. It's been a fun last few years. For those of you guys who don't know, Tim sits on a very small select group of people with me called our Leadership Council. And so you're one of my closest advisors in the direction of our organization. And we could talk for a long time. For sake of time, you need to get back up north as well. But where can people find more about Tim, or if they have a referral for Prescott, how can they get in contact with you?
All my socials, they're all the same.
Okay.
At Realtor Timothy Brown.
Okay.
So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
We'll link it. We'll link it up in the show notes.
Yep. At Realtor Timothy Brown, not Realtor, Realtor.
Awesome.
Yep. So you can find me on all socials. Send me a DM. I answer.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, of course.
Guys, this has been another episode of Real Talk with David. Go out and live a big life in alignment with what you really want. Real estate is simply a vehicle to get what you want out of life and business. And man, if you want a career in this business and you're in the state of Arizona or anywhere else, feel free to reach out to me or any of my team at the Access Network. We run the largest family of real estate brokerages and real estate services company in the state of Arizona. We'd love to get you into this business as well. Talk to you soon, man.